Hello again, this is my Skinny Ebert review of perhaps the most important film of the entire year, and probably in the past 10 years. Since the third Toy Story film came out. It's Toy Story 4, a film that at first I was uncertain about. I was kind of like, why are they making a new one? And then lo and behold, they didn't make it eventually, and I was like, from the teaser trailer, caught by surprise and quite impressed at how they're going to turn around things, and I was like, I'm not a toy! Ah! So, the more I kept hearing about it, the more, I got interested by it, and also the fact that, Toy Story has been one of my favorite films of all time. 1 and 2, and then seeing the third one, when I was teenager going on adult was something very special indeed. I will never forget the day I've seen those films at the cinema. They're very personal to me, so seeing number 4 was pretty much like a trip down memory lane, even though I didn't see it in Britain. I saw it in America, believe it or not. Toy Story 4 was the first film I saw in the United States in the cinema. And I did admit I did cry on the opening sequence, especially when they were showing anyone watching it, spoiler alerts, flashbacks of Andy playing with his toys and Woody remembering Bo Peep, because I remember 1 and 2 very fondly, and it kind of choked me up a little bit. And then as the movie progresses, it had its own little web to tell. You know how the Toy Story movies are. I don't need to give any introduction, but the fourth one in of itself isn't really tied to Andy. This is more tied to the little girl Bonnie that Andy gave the toys to because he was growing up and going to university. And so it eventually ends up that Woody and a pal that Bonnie created called Forky, which is essentially a spoon and fork hybrid with a face on it. They get lost and then they end up in this sort of like circus or carnival sorts in an antique store that's nearby an RV park, and all things sort of go from there, and they meet these little encounters. Woody relocates and finds Bo Peep again, and they meet the Key and Peele duck and bunny characters and form, and then the little people midget thing that sits in between Bo Peep's shoulder and Christina Hendricks from Mad Men. She voices like a doll who has a companion of weird ventriloquist dummies to accompany her simply because she feels like she's alone, and no girl wanted to treat her as her own doll. So you already know the story there. The analysis and my opinion and take of it after seeing, on premiere night is unfortunately mixed feelings. I wish the movie could have been even better than I would have wanted it to, and it was satisfactory in its own right, but I was thinking the movie was going to be more of a sort of fun, it does not take itself seriously roller coaster ride that number 2 was like. There wasn't really so much of a villain as there was sort of like a villain that, so poor Gabby. I would have thought she would have been like quite sinister, and we did get that, early in the film, but it didn't quite flesh it out that way. It felt like, oh, that was quite unexpected. I wasn't expecting it to turn that way. And several other things. It felt like it was a bit more soft in the edges than previous installments. Compared to other characters and the villains in previous, like Sid, Lotso, and Stinky Pete. There is no villain in this one. It doesn't turn out that way. Similar to Ant-Man and the Wasp that came out last year, the villain was pretty much not really a villain, so to speak. He felt like a sympathetic character who just felt lost. On the positive end of things, it's Toy Story, so I really have to support it, and it's a lot better than some of the films Pixar's been doing in the past few years, like Inside Out, and Coco, and Good Dinosaur, and Cars 3, Cars 2, which I honestly don't care much for. As far as it being competitive with movies like Incredibles 2, or Monsters University, and Brave, and Toy Story 3, and within this decade, that's a bit of a different story. This one's somewhere in the middle. It's a lot better than Finding Dory. Finding Dory was awful, but at least Toy Story 4 had some moments to live about it. But I think am I coming with a little bit too many expectations? When I was seeing the film, I thought it was going to be like the roller coaster ride. To my credit, I didn't see any marketing or trailers or TV spots for this, only just the photos and the posters that were presented, and I think that's to my credit. Except for that teaser one where they're sort of dancing, holding hands, listening to Joni Mitchell, which was pretty funny. It was a little bit different from presentation I would have expected. In fact, in many ways, spoiler alert again, it's more of a love story more than anything. Watching Woody and Bo Peep reunite after so many years of not being found for one another, and then, as the movie progresses towards the end, they eventually, Woody and Buzz eventually part ways, and, Woody and Bo Peep are united once again. That was quite sad in of itself too, but the opening was just quite hard to watch. And that's a for U certificate of G-rated film. A rating that's quite rarely used nowadays in America, G-rated. But that was quite difficult because it was quite personal. But yeah, I felt it was like more of a love story more than anything. It didn't feel like a typical sort of roller coaster ride that the previous installments were, which. Because I'm not in any relationship, I've had a girlfriend or two, but definitely not as long. I definitely haven't one in a long time. So I can't really quite relate to this the same way. But I view it in the same sort of lens as Edward Scissorhands or The Shape of Water, which are two great romantic dramas that have come out in the past 30 years. I love Edward Scissorhands. That was a movie I remember growing up as a kid watching. If I saw that again, same with the original Toy Story, that would tear me up too. I don't want to sound like a sissy for saying any of that, because the reason why I'm taking my time explaining about this film review is because for me, Toy Story is very personal. It's also the first film I remember seeing at the cinema. I don't remember exactly which one, but it might have been Virgin or UCI, Warner Village, back in Hertfordshire County, and I saw Toy Story 2 in Essex. I saw Toy Story 3 in Buckinghamshire, or Milton Keynes, and now I saw this in California. The cycle's never turned, my friend. So, yeah, this one's going to take a little bit of time to be thinking about. I just might have to go see it again just so I can get a second opinion, because I really don't want this to be a bad movie. But it's not perfect. It has a few things that I wish were a little bit different, but overall I'm fine with what it is. But it's gonna take some time to ruminate on because of its importance to me as a child. With the difference between this one and Finding Dory, as far as Pixar sequels that weren't quite as great as their predecessors are concerned, is that Finding Dory is quite similar in this regards. It does just have a villain. It's quite sort of a emotional journey, but that was just repetitive and boring and quite nagging. I'm sorry, Ellen DeGeneres does not make a great voice person. Finding Nemo is a good movie. Finding Dory was just rubbish. Came out the same year as Anomalisa and Sausage Party, Kubo and the Two Strings, and Finding Dory was one of the worst animated film that year, in my opinion. So I don't want to talk about that. And then Cars 2 and 3, that's a bit of a different story. Cars 2 is better than the original, but it's on the lower end of the spectrum, I suppose. Cars 3 I didn't even go see, really. I saw it fairly late, and I didn't care for that one either. So, like I said, it'll take some time to ruminate on me, but if you want to see this at the cinema, you're welcome to do so. It's rated G, it's a U certificate for the family, very mild violence, scary scenes. If you don't like dummies and dolls, if you have a phobia of that, you might not like this film one bit. But it's not Child's Play, the other movie that I saw the same night as Toy Story 4, which I'll be talking about in another interview in one moment. And also, how can I forget? The short film issue. I know everyone's been sort of complaining that, why is there no short film during, the first, Toy Story 4? And I know, because I don't want to spoil any sort of... Excuse me, the lights sort of went out. Let me try again. The short film issue is mostly because they didn't have enough time on the staff to try to handle things all together. I know Pixar's doing something called Spark Shorts, which helps make it a bit more democratic for people to submit their own animated shorts within the Pixar sort of environment. Quite clever. I hope it works. But it did feel a little bit missing in that regards. But then again, the first Toy Story did not have a short film. And it was a great movie. My favourite film of all time. More so than Space Jam, Help and the Fish, Small Soldiers, The Mask, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Chicken Run, Monsters Inc., and so many others. If you want to hear me talk about more about Toy Story 4, you're more than welcome to do so in the comments section. This is a very film I could talk about for quite a while, but there's more important things to move on. Politics, government, employment, sexism, racism, poverty, violence, and murder, and religion. This is just a movie. There'll be plenty more to come. And with that in mind, thank you for watching. This is Skinny Ebert, signing off.